For thousands of years, singer-song poets have not only been entertainers, but the voice of all societies. This concert will be a close-up, intimate encounter with these musical giants who tell the stories and the inspirations behind their songs. Appearing on this performance, Kris Kristofferson, Patty Griffin, Randy Owen, Ray Stevens, our rising star, Jonathan Singleton.
The fear of rejection is the greatest asset sometimes to make you try to be as good as you can be and try to really check and recheck. For me, it took a long time to present those songs, even though I wrote Feels So Right when I was 17. Thank you. Well, I was born across the river in a mountain where I call home. Lord, time and good there. I don't know why I ever wrong. Oh, Tennessee River and the mountain man, we get together anytime we can. Oh, Tennessee River and the mountain man, we play together in Mother Nature band. This mountain king done left his throne on the Tennessee River and his mountain home. But I'm going back, leaving today for my homeland, so far away. Going down to the river with my fishing line, climb up Lookout Mountain about supper time. Everybody now, oh, Tennessee River and the mountain man, we get together anytime we can. Oh, Tennessee River and the mountain man, we play together in Mother Nature band. Me and my woman done made our plan on the Tennessee River, walking hand in hand. Gonna raise a family, Lord, settle down, where peace and love can still be found. Oh, Tennessee River and the mountain man, we get together anytime we can. Oh, Tennessee River and the mountain man, we play together in Mother Nature band. Oh, Tennessee River. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Tennessee River and a mountain man, we get together anytime we can. Oh, Tennessee River and a mountain man, we play together in Mother Nature's band. Oh, Tennessee River. Oh, Tennessee River. That's enough. Thank y'all. Thank you. I was taught to love poetry by my father, and he used to read the Bible to us kids, and then he would read poetry from Edgar A. Guest, which was, you know, it was incredible being a kid and hearing your father read the poetry, you know, to me, lyrics. I think I'm a great listener,
and I look at people a lot, and I listen to what they talk about. I also read things that gives me ideas, but most of my songs are personal experiences, either directly that I've experienced or ones that someone really close to me have experienced. And I'm kind of like relaying that story. I guess the one thing with me, I'm never sure of myself. And I think that when I start feeling like I'm sure of myself, I might quit being creative. I think it's really a challenge that makes you really strive harder than maybe somebody that's been told, man, you're good. You are really good and you're gonna make it someday. And for in my case, nobody ever told me that.
I was running through the summer rain and trying to catch that evening train and kill the old familiar pain weaving through my tangled brain. When I tipped my bottle back, I smacked into a cop I didn't see. Big mistake. That policeman said, Mr. Cool, if you ain't drunk, then you're a fool. I said, if that's against the law, tell me why I never saw a man locked in that jail of yours who wasn't either black or poor as me. Well, that was when someone turned out the lights. I wound up in jail to spend the night in Nashville and dream of all the whining lonely girls in this best of all possible worlds. Well, I woke up next morning feeling like my head was gone and like my thick old tongue was licking something sick and wrong. I told that man I'd sell my soul for something wet and cold as that old cell, and I would have. That kindly jailer grinned at me, all eaten up with sympathy, poured himself another beer and came and whispered in my ear, "If booze is just a dime a bottle, boy, you couldn't even buy the smell." I said I knew there was something I liked about this town. It takes more than that to bring me down, 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 'cause there's still a lot of whining lonely girls. I wrote this a long time ago, in this best of all possible worlds. Did you know that here in the land of the free we got more people behind bars than any nation on the planet? That's right, son, we're number one. They finally came and told me they were gonna set me free. I'd be leaving town if I knew what was good for me. I said it's nice to learn that everybody's so concerned about my health. I said I won't be leaving no more quicker than I can, 'cause I've enjoyed about as much of this as I can stand. I don't need this town of yours more than I never needed nothing else. 'Cause there's still a lot of drinks that I ain't drunk, lots of pretty thoughts that I ain't thunk. And Lord, there's still so many lonely girls in this best of all possible worlds. Well, if I was Roger Miller, I'd think of a clever scat to go out on. He had a great one when he could it. But I ain't, so I'll just quit. All right.
This is a story that might have been inspired by a family member of mine, or not. It shall remain anonymous. I wished I was smarter, wished I was stronger. I wished I loved Jesus the way my wife does. I wished it had been easier instead of any longer. I wished I could have stood where you would have been proud. That won't happen now, that won't happen now. There's a whole lot of singing that's never gonna be heard, disappearing every day without so much as a word somehow. I think I broke the wings off that little songbird. She's never gonna fly to the top of the world now, to the top of the world. I don't have to answer any of these questions. Don't have no guide to teach me no lessons. I come home in the evening and sit in my chair. One night they called me for supper, but I never got up. I stayed right there in my chair. There's a whole lot of singing that's never gonna be heard, disappearing every day without so much as a word somehow. I think I broke the wings off that little songbird. She's never gonna fly to the top of the world now, to the top of the I wish I'd have known you. I wish I'd have shown you all of the things I was on the inside, but I'd pretend to be sleeping when you come in the morning to whisper goodbye and go to work in the rain. And now I don't know why, don't know why, 'cause everyone's singing, we just wanna be heard, disappearing every day without so much as a word somehow. Wanna grab a hold of that little songbird, take her for a ride to the top of the world right now, to the top of the world. To the top of the world, to the top of the world, to the top of the world, 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 top of the world.
love with music when I was teeny tiny because my mom is still, to this day, one of my favorite singers I've ever heard. Her voice was strong and beautiful, and she was always singing to just probably make herself feel better, and I got to just hear a beautiful singer all the time, and I was singing with her when I was really little, before I was going to school. I knew I loved music, and for some reason or other, I was 12 years old. I remember being 12 years old and being in 7th grade hell. I mean, that junior high, just one of the worst ages. And I thought to myself, I love singing just about more than anything, and I'm gonna do that. The best songs really kind of take shape all at once. The melody's there, and it sort of vibrates, and then the lyrics show up at the same time. And it's kind of like this little miracle. You don't know how it happens, and it's strange.
Don't bring me bad news, no bad news. I don't need none of your bad news today. You're a sad little boy, anyone could see you're just a sad little boy. That's why you're carrying on that way. Why don't you burn it all down, burn your own house down, burn your own house down. Try to cure your own disease. Leave the rest of us, there's a lot of us. Leave the rest of us who want to live in peace, to live in peace. I'm gonna find me a man, love him so well, love him so strong, love him so slow. We're gonna go way beyond the walls of this fortress. And we won't be afraid, we won't be afraid. And though the darkness may come our way, we won't be afraid to be alive anymore. We'll grow kindness in our hearts for all the strangers among us, till there are no strangers anymore. I don't need none of your bad news today. You can't have my fear, I got nothing to lose. Can't have my fear, I'm not getting out of here alive anyway. And I don't need none of these things, I don't need none of these things I've been handed. And the bird of peace is flying over, she's flying over and coming in for landing. Hey, hey, hey,
whisper to me softly, breathe words upon my skin. No one's near and listening, so please don't say goodbye. Just hold me close and love me. Press your lips to mine. Feels so right. Yeah. Feels so right. Lying here beside you, I hear the echoes of your sighs. Promise me you'll stay with me and keep me warm tonight. Just hold me close and love me. Give my heart a smile. Feels so right. Feels so right. Your body feels so gentle, and my passion rises high, and you're loving me so easy. Your wish is my command. Just hold me close and love me. Tell me it won't end. Feels so right. Feels so right. Feels so right. Oh, you feel so right, baby.
Well, this song was inspired by a scene out of The Grapes of Wrath. So I kind of wrote it with John Steinbeck, only he was dead at the time, but the scene was a small roadside cafe. The waitress was sweeping the floor. Two truck drivers drinking their coffee. Two oaky kids by the door. How much are them candies, they asked her. How much have you got, she replied. We've only a penny between us. Them's two for a penny, she lied. And the daylight grew heavy with thunder, the smell of the rain on the wind. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. One truck driver called to the waitress after the kids went outside. Them candies ain't 2 for a penny. So what's it to you, she replied. In silence they finished their coffee, got up and nodded goodbye. She called, hey, you left too much money. So what's it to you, they replied. And the daylight was heavy with thunder, with the smell of the rain on the wind. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Hey.
I was writing songs all during the time I was going to school, and I almost got in the music business over in England when I was over there with that Rhodes Scholarship, and that didn't really pan out. And then while I was in the Army, I had a little band that we used to do songs that we made up about the military, and which is a pretty limited audience. But then I came to Nashville when I was on my way to West Point there, and I just fell in love with the whole atmosphere that was so creative here. It took me about 5 years to make a living as a songwriter. I flew helicopters to augment my pathetic income flying down the Gulf of Mexico on the offshore oil rigs. So, but in general, I write by myself. It's one of the blessings of being a songwriter is you can carry it around with your own baggage, and you don't have to sit down and do it like a chore. I don't think I could ever do that.
This reminds me of the days when we'd be, and nights, we'd be sitting there trying to knock each other out with songs and pass the guitar around. It's some of the best times I've ever had in my life, listening to you guys. It's a little daunting to follow, but it's the reason I love Nashville was busted flat Baton Rouge, heading for the train, feeling nearly faded as my jeans. Bobby thumbed a diesel down just before the rain took us all the way to New Orleans. I pulled my harpoon out of my dirty red bandana. It was blowing sad while Bobby sang the blues. With them windshield wipers slapping time and Bobby clapping hands, we finally sang up every song that driver knew. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. Feeling good was good enough for me. Good enough for me, Bobby McGee. From the coal mines of Kentucky to the California sun, Bobby shared the secrets of my soul, standing right beside me, Lord, through everything I've done. Every night she kept me from the cold. Then somewhere near Salinas, Lord, I let her slip away, looking for the home I hope she'll find. And I'd trade all my tomorrows for a single yesterday, holding Bobby's body next to mine. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing but it's free. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. Buddy, that was good enough for me. And Janice, good enough for me and Bobby McGee.
Thank you.
Harlan Howard. Harlan went from a young child dreaming of becoming a songwriter to auto plant worker to dean of the Nashville songwriting community in one of the most colorful lives in the annals of country music. His songs have crossed over all genres and all boundaries to become known around the world. He often said that country music is 3 chords and the truth, and nothing verifies that statement more than his vast catalog of award-winning classics, from Heartaches by the Number to Busted, to I Fall to Pieces, just to name a few. His approach to songwriting was simple, as he said, "I'm always collecting emotions for future reference," but also complex, as he explained, music washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. But he was also studied and practical when he said, "A lot of songs you write are just for exercise, just pencil sharpeners." And his heart was as big as his talent. No artist was too new or inexperienced to have a pitch by Harlan Howard. And no new songwriter was too unimportant for advice and friendship. About his craft, he said, "I feel I have done about everything in life but die, at least when it comes to relationships. I don't know if all that's essential for a writer, but it sure helps because you can draw upon all those feelings. You remember the guilt, the regrets, the dreams. To me, a song is like a 3-minute movie." Harlan left us a treasure trove of 3-minute movies over a truly epic life. Thank you, Harlan.
Well, I just want to say what a great honor it's been to be here tonight. You wonderful. It's been a schooling for me. I've been learning some things up here, and thank you so much for letting me sit in between you two. One of my biggest things is I have a really hard time being brave. I'm a shy person, and being brave is hard for me. And a few years back, I was having a really hard time being brave, and there was a documentary on TV about Martin Luther King, and they showed that speech he made in Memphis the night before he was assassinated, and I got a very clear picture of bravery in that. I'd heard the speech before, but I never really, paid attention, I guess. And I did that night, and I wrote this song. This is called Up to the Mountain. I went up to the mountain because you asked me to.
up over the clouds to where the sky was blue. I could see all around me, everywhere. I could see all around me, everywhere. Sometimes I feel like I've never been nothing but tired, and I'll be working till the day I expire. Sometimes I lay down, no more can I do, but then I go on again, because you asked me to. Some days I look down, oh, afraid I will fall, and though the sun shines, I see nothing, and I hear your sweet voice, coming and go, telling me softly you love me so. The peaceful valley just over the mountain, the peaceful valley you come to know. I may never get there ever in this lifetime, but soon or later there I will go. Oh, sooner or later is there I will go.
This next song, I really worked on the intro of this song for 2 months. Just coming up with something that was, when you heard the song, it was something that was a hook, and I wasn't really getting anywhere until I came up with the verse that was about me when I was a kid. And after I'd written this song, and it was a big hit. I'm in New York, and the president of RCA Records is hosting the group Alabama. And I'm sitting next to him, and there's a butler there with white gloves, and he's like, "What is this song that you're singing about chert rocks?" And I said, it's a song called Mountain Music. And he said, "Well, it's selling good, but there's no such a word as chert." And so at this point in my life, I'm thinking, you know what, if I say anything to this guy, first of all, he could kill me, or he could drop you from the label, or
all the above, and I'm in New York City, and I don't know my way home. So, and then I said, well, it's spelled C-H-E-R-T, chert. It's like where we were raised. They put these gravels out on the dirt road so that you don't get stuck in the sand and everything when it gets muddy. And so then they bring a dictionary that's about this thick. They open it up to C-H-E-R-T, and it simply says a rock that's in the valleys of, northeastern Alabama, and it's, so on and so forth. It's a white, chalky rock. So the look on the president of RCA's face, I never said anything else. And 2 weeks later, he was fired. I didn't have anything to do with it. Some mountain music like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I float on down the river to a Cajun hideaway. Drift away like Tom Sawyer, ride a raft with old Huck Finn. Take a nap, well, like Rip Van Winkle, daydreaming again. Oh, play me some mountain music like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I float on down the river to a Cajun hideaway. Well, I swim across the river just to prove that I'm a man. Spend a day, well, being lazy, just being nature's friend. Then I'll climb a long, tall hickory, gonna bend it over, skinning cats, playing baseball with chert rocks. I'll use a sawmill slap or a bat, yes I will. Play some back home, come on music that comes from the heart. Play something with lots of feeling, 'cause that's where music has to start. Oh, play me some mountain music, everybody, like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I'll float on down the river to a Cajun hideaway. Hey, hey. One, two, three, four. Play me
legendary recording artist, song poet, Ray Stevens.
Met a gentleman in Atlanta, Bill Lowry, who was a big influence on me and so many others. He loved music and he started the publishing company and consequently encouraged all the young talent in Atlanta to come write songs for him. And I was one of those guys fortunate enough to meet Bill and be encouraged by him. A lot of songs are constructed like a crossword puzzle, you know, except in a songwriting crossword puzzle, you not only have up and down and across, you have diagonal too. And it's really a great way to describe, I think, the mechanics and the craft of writing a song. To me, writing a song has two parts, inspiration and perspiration, and that perspiration part being knowing how to craft it. I try to figure out what the song's about, what the idea, what do I want to get across? And that idea will indicate usually what the title should be, and it will also indicate the style music that you need to put with it. If it's going to be an up-tempo or a slow ballad or whatever. Your idea and what you want to say in your song is really very important. And so one of the things I do, I don't try to rhyme anything. I'll just write out in prose what I want to say in the song. And you would be amazed how many lines will rhyme. It's almost as if any idiot could do it. All you do is write out what you want to say. Don't worry about what's going to rhyme. And you'll see some lines there that you can transpose them. And whoa, that rhymes. And if I move this down here, that rhymes. And you can write a song so fast if you don't worry about the rhyme or the meter. Just write a story.
Did you see your children growing up today? And did you hear the music of their laughter as they set about to play? Did you catch the fragrance of those roses in your garden? Did the morning sunlight warm your soul, brighten up your day? Do you qualify to be alive, or is the limit of your senses so as only to survive? Spending counterfeit incentive, wasting precious time and health, placing value on the worthless, disregarding priceless wealth. You can wheel and deal the best of them, steal it from the rest of them. You know the score, their ethics are a bore. 86 proof anesthetic crutches prop you to the top, where the smiles are all synthetic and the ulcers never stop. When they take that final inventory, yours will be the same sad story everywhere. No one will really care, no one more lonely than this rich imported man. Let's have your autograph, endorse your epitaph. You better take care of business, Mr. Businessman. What's your plan? Get down to business, Mr. Businessman, if you can. Hey, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah.
This week's rising star, Jonathan Singleton.
Thank you guys so much. Ended up writing this song with Mr. Jim Beavers also, and Gary Allen heard it and made a #1 hit record out of it. Man, we were proud as we can be of that. And this is called Watching Airplanes. Hope y'all enjoy it. Sitting out here on the hood of this truck, looking up at a caramel-colored sunset sky. checking my watch, doing the math in my head, counting backwards to when you said goodbye. Well, those runaway lights are getting brighter, and I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes take off and fly, and trying to figure out which one you might be on and why you don't love me anymore. And I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes. Well, I would have lied, I could have cried, I should have tried harder, done anything to make you stay. And I wonder what you'd do if you looked out your window and saw me running down the runway, just like I was crazy. But that fence is too high, and so am I. And I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes take off and fly, and trying to figure out which one you might be on and why you don't love me anymore. By now I know you're 30,000 feet above me, but a million miles away, yeah, a million miles away. By now I ought to act like you don't love me. But I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes take off and fly. Yeah, I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes take off and fly, and trying to figure out which one you might be on and why you don't love me anymore. And I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes go by. Yeah, I'm just sitting out here watching airplanes, baby, bye-bye.
Follow your heart, and I think if you're in the whatever you call it, the art, the craft, then you can't lose.
One of the great statements I heard, if you write the good stuff, you got to write about the bad too. And so, you know, I write songs about stuff that it's not a commercial song. It's something that's something I have to write.
And I think that just make sure you love it and you're making something that you loved making, that you really were into making. And you know, if that's there, then you can't go wrong.
This is called Casey's Last Ride. Casey joins the hollow sound of silent people walking down the stairway to the subway in the shadows down below, following their footsteps through the neon darkened corridors of silent desperation, never speaking to a soul. Poison air he's breathing has the dirty smell of dying, 'cause it's never seen the sunshine, never felt the rain. But Casey minds the arrows and ignores the fatal echoes of the clicking of the turnstiles and the rattle of his chains. Oh, she said, Casey, it's been so long since I seen you. Here, she said, just a kiss to make a body smile. See, she said, I've put on new stockings just to please you. Lord, she said, Casey, can you only stay a while? Casey leaves the underground and stops inside the Golden Crown for something wet to wipe away the chill that's on his bone. Seen his reflection in the lives of all the lonely men who reach for anything they can to keep from going home. Standing in the corner, Casey drinks his pint of bitter, never glancing in the mirror at the people passing by. Then he stumbles as he's leaving, and he wonders if the reason is the beer that's in his belly or the tear that's in his eye. Oh, she said, I suppose you seldom think about me. Now, she said, now that you've a family of your own. Still, she said, it's so blessed good to feel your body. Lord, she said, Casey, it's a shame to be alone. Thank you. Well, what a guitar player.
This show is called Legends and Lyrics, and you are the legend of the show. It's so much fun to see you. I haven't seen you in years. We met years ago, and neither one can remember where. But that's part of, as we say, growing older. Yeah. It's an honor to talk to you. There is nobody with the accolades that you have in two very tough businesses, the music business and the one we come from, the film business, which I call a 2% business.
Why?
Because only 2% of people in Screen Actors Guild make over $5,000 a year. It's a tough business.
Well, I don't know which side of the 2% I'm on now.
Well, I think with all your awards, too many awards to mention, the Hall of Fame and then the Academy Award nomination and all the films and
yeah,
wow.
My daughter said, Don't they have anything better to do than to give all you old people awards?
Oh, Kris, you've been winning them for a long time, and your songs are legends, of course. But I wanted to ask you for the audience, because this is about songwriters, and it's an unusual show in those terms. a few questions, if I may. But before, I don't think I knew before I looked you up again, and most people don't, that you started out about, as you said, 10 years later than everybody else in the industry because you were an Army brat. Then you flew helicopters.
In the Army.
In the Army.
Yeah.
And quit that to write songs about 10 years after most people get the bug.
Well, I had the bug for writing songs long before I actually came and tried to do it. But I was still in the Army when I first came to Nashville and trying to sell my songs. And I came here while I was on leave, actually, on the way to an assignment at West Point as an English literature teacher.
Aren't you a Rhodes Scholar as well?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long
How
way from
many
that.
things can one man do? Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't break in.
No,
It's amazing to me, just even to be a pilot.
Well, I was fortunate I was a pilot because for a while it took me about 5 years to make a living as a songwriter, and when I was going to have another child,
One of 8, right?
One of 8.
One of 8.
Yeah,
Wow.
I flew helicopters to augment my pathetic income flying down the Gulf of Mexico on the offshore oil rigs. So the
All
Army
legal,
Army
by
training.
the way, for our audience, all legal. It
Oh,
sounds
yes.
like going over to Mexico. You were flying helicopters. It
Yeah,
sounds like
well-
an episode in TV.
Yeah, it was. Well, it kept me going.
Well, but that's a pretty good second job, or day job, as they say.
Yeah, every other week I'd go out and live on an oil platform. So
Unbelievable. So when you said you had the bug early on, what is your first memory of falling in love with music?
well, I think the first song I ever wrote was when I was just a kid. I was
Really?
11 years old or something, and
Really?
and then
What did you write it on, a guitar, or did you play?
didn't play the guitar then.
Mm-hmm.
I was just raking the manure out of my corral, and just making up songs. I didn't actually
I
write
see.
them down.
I see.
But then I was writing songs all during the time I was going to school, and I almost got in the music business over in England when I was over there with that Rhodes Scholarship,
Right.
and that didn't really pan out. And then while I was in the Army, I had a little band that we used to do songs that we made up about the military, and which is a pretty limited audience. But then I came to Nashville when I
Yeah.
was on my way to West Point there, and I just fell in love with the whole atmosphere that was so creative here. I'm not sure what it's like these days, but at the time, writers hung out together at night
Yeah.
for weeks and tried to knock each other out with our songs.
Do you prefer to collaborate or write alone? Or
I really have not collaborated very much on I've found it's pretty private vocation. I did write a few songs with my friend Shel Silverstein, and he was so enamored of songwriting and such a good songwriter that during that time when I was flying down in the Gulf of Mexico, I'd come up here and hang out with him, and then he'd give me the idea for a song, and I'd go back down
Oh, that's
and try and write it while I was down there.
And what comes first, the chicken or the egg in songwriting for you? The melody, the lyric, or both?
Generally, it's the idea
The idea.
behind the song, and sometimes it's just a line that you fall in love with that doesn't end up being the whole song or the meaning of it. But
Right.
but usually it's the title line.
Okay.
I know.
And I'm sorry.
I was going to say that, like Bobby McGee, that's my employer at the time, Fred Foster, who was owned the publishing house I was working for. gave me the idea. Just said, and I wrote the song and split it with him. So,
oh, cool. Well, that's
yeah.
generous of you.
Well, it was probably wouldn't have written it if he hadn't. I think Hank Williams and what's his name, Fred Rose, used to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I understand that if somebody is present in a room when a song is written, you got to cut them in.
Yeah,
They
well,
don't say a word.
that happened a
Yeah.
lot of times with me. that if there was somebody that was in there, I'd just give them a piece of it. But with Shell, I actually wrote with him a couple of times. But in general, I write by myself. It's
it's
one
personal.
of the blessings of being a songwriter is you can carry it around with your
Right.
own baggage,
Sure.
and you don't have to sit down and do it like a chore. I don't think I could ever do that.
Why Me, Lord? Tell me about that song. Why me?
Well, that was
That's during a certain period in your
yeah.
life.
That was I wrote that after I had an experience in a church, which I didn't go to regularly. That was a very emotional experience, and I was trying. I think most of the songs that I write are trying to make sense out of whatever I've
It's
experienced.
such a great song.
You know, and that one came very fast, and was real personal. You know, so I was very surprised at the popularity of it.
I think it just resonates in so many people's hearts. That feeling, that general sense that you captured in such
Well,
a
it's
simplistic.
gratitude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What kind of everybody? I know every actor wants to be a singer, and every singer wants to be an actor. At least I can say I do, and I've tried pitifully. What does it feel like? How did you find these two careers that you've done so well in both of them?
Well, the songwriting I went after and really paid my dues in that profession, you know, just by taking about 5 years here in Nashville
Right.
of hanging out with writers.
Right.
And it wasn't until I started performing them, which I wasn't doing,
Right.
until I got the offers to be an actor too.
So they pursued you.
And I found, it was. I started my first gig was at the Troubadour in Los Angeles, and there were a lot of film people there, and the show went over well. And the next thing I knew, I had a script in my hand that Harry Dean Stanton brought me, and I always felt kind of guilty about it because I hadn't paid my dues as an actor.
But you're good at it.
Well, I had to learn it on the job, and I found that what worked for me on the stage, performing, which I also wasn't trained to do, was what worked for me in acting was if you can make people believe you're telling the truth in both of them, and if you don't appear to be dissembling, you know,
Right.
then it works.
Yeah.
And I found that I come to appreciate acting
Yeah.
slowly. You know,
Yeah.
at first I just thought that I had lucked into it and it was fun, and there were, you know, all these exciting people that you got to meet.
Yeah, but I've watched your films over the years, and you've grown a craft. You've created a craft and excelled in that. And,
Well, I appreciate that, Jennifer.
No, really, it's true.
I feel like
because
I got better
I've
at
had
it.
to do that arc as well, and it's a growing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to work at it.
And then the next thing you know, you're too old for it.
Just when you get it down.
Just when you learn a way to do it.
We have a lot of people in the audience, I'm sure, that would love to hear a tidbit of advice from you, a little bit of a mentoring moment from the great Kris Kristofferson. Could you give them a little advice? about
Well,
pursuing
the only
that
thing
career?
that I would be able to say safely is the same advice that a general in the Army gave me when I told him I might be going to Nashville instead of West Point. And he said, follow your heart. And I think if you're in the whatever you call it, the art, the craft,
Creative business.
for the love, then you can't lose, because you just love. It was hard on my family for about 5 years, but not on me. I was swept away from the first day, you know, and loved it so much that if I had never been successful, I think I'd still be doing it anyway.
Well, that's. I mean, you're a person of success all the way across the board, but the passion is what makes the impact. And the people that I've spoken to, all the performers, basically say the same thing.
Oh yeah.
You have to have the passion. Don't lose yourself in the process, and do it because you love it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and could you just tell me quickly who influenced your musical career
Well,
the most?
I would say there were a number of people, but Roger Miller was one.
Okay.
He was, in my last year in the Army, I was listening to him on the Armed Forces Network radio all the time, and I loved the way he wrote and sang. And Johnny Cash from before that, and Bob Dylan. And I could probably list you a whole lot of people like Mickey Newberry and writers that I respected. But the big three would probably have been Roger and Willie Nelson too.
Right.
Because I was lucky that there was a disc jockey on the Armed Forces Network that was a Willie fan before the rest of the world was.
Really?
By about maybe 10 years. And
Wow.
and so I was over there in Germany listening to his songs, and the depth in the simplicity of them was something that I thought was basic to the country
Absolutely.
songs.
Absolutely.
And the heart, you know. It's like we were talking about before, about if you're in it for the right reasons, if you're not just in it to hoping to get rich and famous, you know, that you can't lose.
Right. They can't take that away from you,
No,
as they
no.
say.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say this on the air. I don't know if it'll end up that way, but I always wanted to have you as a leading man. And I'm just...
Maybe we still will.
I'm saying it's never too late.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to that.
Yeah, I'll be your father.
Pardon?
I'll be your father.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's just a pleasure, and I want you to know also that when I asked so many of the other talents who they would want for dinner to sit and pick their brain there and talk music, you were on everyone's list.
Oh, wow.
So you should just know how
flattered.
adored you are.
Honored.
Okay, thank you, Kris, so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Bowling Green, Kentucky. Playing at a place up there, and the guy that owned the place always wanted you to go around and talk to everybody and be friendly with the patrons and see what was on their mind, what songs they wanted to hear, and get down tonight or play that funky music, white boy, or whatever. And so that's what I was doing. But I went by this table, and there's like 12 or 14 ladies sitting there. And I said, "What brings you ladies out tonight?" And they were having an incredible party and wasn't really paying a lot of attention to me. But one of them said, "We're here celebrating her divorce." And they pointed to the lady at the end of the table. And she didn't seem very happy. She was just kind of sitting there. And I said, well, you don't seem like you're very happy about that. Because, you know, most of the time when you have a divorce like that, it's like, you know, I'm proud to get rid of that sucker. I didn't like him. I wish I should have never married him to start with, you know, but not her. She said, I'm not really happy. I'd really rather be at home with my husband tonight and be in love. And that really, really got me to thinking, you know, really touched me. And then she gave me this line. She said, you know, this is the first time I've been out since I was 18 years old. And so I couldn't wait to get back to my room that night. And I wrote this song, and I was hoping so much to get Johnny Rodriguez to record this song, but never got the opportunity. I tried everything. And so, you know, a few years later, I tried to record this song 20 different ways. So finally, Harold Shedd said, Randy, when everybody leaves, we'll go in the studio. You take your guitar, you play the song, we'll tape it twice. We'll take the best part of both of them, put them together, and we got us a hit. And that's what we did. It's her first night on the town since she was just 18, a lady down on love and out of hopes and dreams. The ties that once bound her now are broke away, and she's like a baby just learning how to play. She never thought that love could ever end so soon. Her mind drifts back in time to that midsummer moon, when he asked her to marry and she gladly said okay, and a woman came to be from the girl of yesterday. Now she's a lady down on love, and she needs somebody to gently pick her up. She's got her freedom, but she'd rather be bound to a man who would love her and never let her down. Well, I know the lady that's down on her love, 'cause I used to hold her and how that special touch. But work took me away from home late at nights, and I wasn't there when she turned out the lights. Then both of us got lonely, and I gave in to lust, and she just couldn't live with a man she couldn't trust. Now she's a lady down on love, and she needs somebody to gently pick her up. She's got her freedom, but she'd rather be bound to a man who would love her and never let her down. Now she's a lady down on
Thank y'all. Randy Owen, lead singer of Alabama. Ah, I'm so excited to meet you. You
Nice to
are
meet you.
an absolute legend in your own time, which is nice. 73 million records, 42 million single hits. How does that
Come on,
make you?
it's
How's that
more.
make you
That's-
feel? I mean,
Actually, I'm kind of nervous talking to you. Really, I'm going to try to keep my chair still because when you get nervous, you start moving around like that. I'm going to try to keep my chair
well,
still.
we'll just settle down
yeah,
together.
and because it's kind of hard to talk about yourself.
Well, I'm going to ask you questions to make it easy because a lot
Okay.
of people want to know some things. And we're kind of investigating, of course, Legends and Lyrics is about the song and
Right,
the
yeah.
poetry matching
I love
with the
poetry.
song. And so that works for you, that
I
combination
love poetry.
of... Yeah.
My favorite poet's Edgar A. Guest,
Oh, I don't know him.
and he's a old guy, deceased now, and I was taught to love poetry by my father, and he used to read the Bible to us kids, and then he would read poetry from Edgar A. Guest, which was,
Wow.
it was incredible being a kid and hearing your father read the poetry, to me, lyrics to you, which they were like, he was like the poet of the common man, and for me, still today, I know several years ago I was working with a different producer, and he said, "What do you listen to?" And I said, "I listen to the words." He said, "That's what all the girls out the office said you'd say."
That's great. Well, one of the first things I was going to ask you actually was your early memories, who inspired you, obviously your father and that incredible poet. And do you remember when you fell in love with music?
Well, I fell in love with music from as early as I can remember because my daddy played guitar, my mother played piano, and my mother still plays in church and still plays really, really well. And of course, I lost my father in 1980, and he was a great inspiration. And I remember the day that he told me, he said, "Son, I'm just going to let you play the guitar because you're already way past me, and I won't." And so I'll play with you, but you're going to, I'm going to follow you. Yeah.
What
oh, yeah.
a defining moment.
Well, see, I still remember that, and that's why he was so special for me, and the encouraging, he just had a subtle way of encouraging me.
Well, he steeped you in the Word of God,
Yeah,
in poetry, and in music.
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't get much better than that. And then your mom
Well,
as
to me
well.
it doesn't. Yeah.
Well, I think anyone, with everybody that I've interviewed here, the incredible talent and the depth of heart and caring, and there's a consistency,
Right.
and consistency of what it took for people to get where you've gotten. And you have, in some of them, some of the artists had a rough start, really hard start, and they use that in their lyric. How much of your life do you put in your lyric, you think?
Of my life, I think I'm a great listener, and I look at people a lot, and I listen to what they talk about. I also read things that gives me ideas, but most of my songs are personal experiences, either directly that I've experienced or ones that someone really close to me have experienced.
And have told you about it.
And I'm kind of like relaying that story. Even though probably, of course, everybody has their own voice, their own way of relaying that message or repeating that message.
Right.
But that's part of the God-given talent that you have. And sometimes it took a long time to present those songs. Even though I wrote "Feels So Right" when I was 17, it was
Really?
It was really scary to me to sing a song that I had written, because I could also sing a song that was a big hit, and everybody would love it.
Yeah.
But then you put your guitar on and sing a song that you've written, then you're taking a big chance.
It's fear of rejection, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And the fear of rejection, the fear of rejection is the greatest asset sometimes to make you try to be as good as you can be and try to really check and recheck. I remember one of the moments on Feel So Right after I'd written the song, and I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and there's like 40 or 50 girls there that were secretaries and everything from Washington, D.C. And they were down vacation, and they come to the club where I was playing with Alabama, or what would be Alabama, most of the members. And they wanted me to sing some songs, like sing a song that you wrote. So I sang Feel So Right. And I wanted, the second verse is really critical because I was concerned about the second verse. So when I sang the second verse, they didn't say anything. And so when I got through, I said, what do you think about the second verse? And they said, I remember that one little girl, she said, don't change anything. And they all said, yeah. So from that night forward, I've never changed anything about the song.
That's interesting you say that, because I have come from film and done about 30 movies, and then went into writing books. And my mom and dad live with me, and my mother's English, and they kind of proofread stuff. And my mother will turn around to me and she said, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. You know, sometimes you massage things,
yeah,
and other times you just have to stop and leave it alone.
And knowing when to do that, especially if you're solo writing, which most of the hits I've written are just me. And
I was going to ask you about that, which you prefer.
I don't think you ever really, I guess the one thing with me, I'm never sure of myself. And I think that when I start feeling like I'm sure of myself, I might quit being creative. Because I think that you just, you know, I don't know if it comes from the humble upbringing that I had, and always been the kid with dirty hands and dirty clothes and not, you know, a lot of financial wherewithal. I think it's really a challenge that makes you. I think you really strive harder than maybe somebody that's been told, man, you're good. You are really good, and you're going to make it someday. And in my case, nobody ever told me that until I was.
Yeah, but don't you think there's a difference between humility, which is what you're talking about, which is wonderful because it's a vulnerability that allows you to be available, and low self-esteem and being battered down. You know, there's a difference.
Yeah, I guess there is. I think I may feel at times when I'm writing, I may feel all of them.
Well, that's why people relate so much to your songs.
I wrote a song that I'm not doing it on this show, but it's called Zero, and it's about feeling like a zero. And you know, it's like you know, they laughed at me and made their jokes, but when my story's told, they'll all know that I'm no zero. And it's about, you know, feeling down and you know, they laughed at me and made their jokes and so anyway, I'm singing this song, and my young teenage daughter, I thought, she will not like this song at all, but I want to sing it for her. And so I got through, and she's like, well, Dad, everybody's felt that way. So
you know that there's a saying, and I use it in my latest novel, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, is a lie. Words will kill you. They can lift you up or they can make you cry, but they are weapons, so they can be used in a good way or bad.
And sometimes when you're writing them, you mean it one way, and people hear it another way.
Yeah, sure.
And even when they're listening to it, if you sang it that way, they hear another lyric.
Sure.
And so that's one of the problems I have with videos, is that if you're trying to be so creative with videos, you lose the message of the song.
Right.
People are still going to make their...
They can't make it their own.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the marvelous thing about reading, and obviously you were brought up with it. The imagination can take you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
But if you make movies, it's already set the stage for you. So
That's one of the things that's interesting. You talk about writing. I'm working on my first book.
are you? What is it?
It's like, you know, and being an English major and a Spanish minor in school, and loving literature and especially poetry. When I got a chance to take any poetry classes, but it's really hard. I really admire what you do because I mean it's hard when you think about trying to put part of your life into.
Is it an autobiography?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
But it is so. I mean, I realize I've lived a lot and I've done a lot of things, and so I'm trying to stick to the positive things and still tell the story.
Well, but you gotta be, you know, the first book I wrote was my autobiography, appropriately titled Surviving Myself. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever done because I knew you throw dirt, you lose ground. It wasn't a finger-pointing mission. You have to be honest, but you have to be respectful to people.
Right.
And you start to write down your life. Now, you can do that in tidbits of songs that are treats to people, but you don't have to say, that was me. But all of a sudden, you're owning your life, owning the goods and the bads, and how kind of God can turn it all around for his purpose if he wants to. But going down that road, I did that. Are you experiencing that?
Well, and some of it's very painful.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, some of my childhood and then some of the, you know, when I lost my father, that was really tough to go back and, you know, and you know, and you read it over and over and
are songs coming out of this as you're doing that as well?
Well, I've written.
You're resurfacing,
Yeah, I've written about it before, but you know, the thing about to me, and probably I know not in your case, but I write a lot of songs nobody ever hears. You know, because I'm a writer, I feel like one of the great statements I heard: if you write the good stuff, you got to write about the bad too. And so, you know, I write songs about stuff that. It's not a commercial song. It's something that
you have to write.
Something I have to write.
Do you, so your inspiration will vary from books and moments and so forth. If you were having a dinner party and you got to invite 3 people of any era in the music industry or music or lyricists or whatever, who might you invite?
I'd invite Elvis Presley and Hank Williams.
All right.
Probably maybe Edgar Allan Poe.
And the Raven.
Just to see how weird he really was.
Yeah, he must have been an odd duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, mine's.
I'm sorry, the guy that wrote about Walter Mitty too. I can't remember the author that wrote about. Walter Mitty was one of his big characters in my novels or literature that I took. But he's a very interesting guy. And of course, obviously, like I was talking earlier, if Edgar A. Guest were still, you know.
Right.
You know, I think you're talking about anybody.
Anybody, yeah.
Past or present.
Sure,
so
sure.
I would love to, having heard, actually have some of the audio of him talking.
Have you?
And have some stuff he actually autographed and.
Yeah.
Everything.
So you really followed him.
Yeah, and the fans know that I like him. And in fact, a lady just presented me with a book, a portrait that I'd never seen before. And I thought I had it everything, and he'd autographed it.
Oh, what a treasure.
Yeah, really.
What a treasure.
And my daughter, who's a student at Auburn University, she picked up the book of poetry and started reading it. She's like, oh, I love this one. I love this one, Dad. I love this one. I thought it's coming through, you know, always handed down from the generations, yeah.
So can you think of it? You've told us several defining times, defining moments, but at what point, unless it's to come or right now, would you consider to be the swell of your career, a period of time that was the most exciting and expansive?
You know, that's a very good question, and I write about this in the book. The best part of my career was also some of the saddest times for me, personally, because of the loss of my dad. And you know, I'm on stage singing and thousands of people are having a good time and I'm up there singing, but, you know, I just want to be able to call home and call my dad and just see, you know, tell him where I'm at and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of an unusual answer, I guess, but that's the true answer.
There was a dichotomy of, I mean, you got me going because my parents have lived with me for 18 years. My dad's 89 and my mom's 85, and I know eventually they're not
Right.
going to be just downstairs,
Yeah.
you know, and I can see the tenderness in you just still after 1980.
What was so tough for me is he was so young, and I felt
He
so
must have been.
cheated. I felt so cheated. You know, all the years that we put in together, and he taught me to play the guitar and, you know, what he knew. And he bought me the first guitar, which is a little Stella guitar, and then he bought me an archtop Harmony, and then he bought me an electric Supro and a Premier amplifier.
Wow.
And all those things, and then I got a green Gretsch, like the one that Chet Atkins, yeah, the same brand.
He knew your heart, didn't he?
Oh yeah, and it was so great to play with him and play with my mother. You know, just play guitar with him, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I never wanted to sing. I was the shy
Wow.
guy that
Are
wanted to stand
you
in the corner.
serious?
Yeah, I'm
You know-
very serious. I wanted to stand on the corner of the stage, play my guitar, but fate changed all that, and that's the most difficult thing that I ever did, was to become the front guy with a microphone, holding it, walking out, and with
But
thousands
you
of
did it.
people.
You
Yeah.
did it. You know, it's
And
like Moses saying, "Don't take me, I stutter." You know, I don't want to go, and God says you're
The
going.
Lord knows I've stuttered a few times.
If you were able, we have an audience full of people that are watching this and want to be songwriters and poets, etc.
Yeah.
If you could give them a tidbit of advice, what would you?
Boy, I tell you, we was talking about personal experience. I would start off writing as close to my I'm talking about really personal, talking about how you really feel personally.
Right.
Start off with that, because you are a very different person than your brother or your sister or your
Right.
mother or your father. Even though you may live in the same house, you have the same blood in your veins, you have your own song to sing, you have your own lyrics to write. And sure, you can be influenced by other people's writings or the way they perform or whatever, but as close to your heart, I'm talking about right here, right in there, as you can go with your writing.
That's
I
great
think you're
advice.
going to become who you really are, and when people, if they identify with that, then you're on your way,
There you go.
because you don't have to change nothing.
Mr. Randy Owen. Oh my, what a pleasure it's been.
Same here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're funny. You say you have a hard time speaking about yourself. You're going to have a great book. You have such a wealth of information, and it's been recognized and will continue to do so. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to say at all about the show, perhaps, to encourage?
Well, I think it's important. Obviously, that's the reason why I'm here. I have a concert tomorrow night, and it's a long way from here. But I think it's very important that people who have been blessed and have some success that get an opportunity to do this format, and that it encourages. The big thing is the kids.
Exactly.
Give something back to these younger people. Well, you don't have to be a kid. You can just be a person that. I don't think there's any time in life when you shouldn't write. I think I'm going to be writing, hopefully the day I die, if
Yeah.
I can hold a pen, if I'm inspired by something, because that's the part that never shuts off. Maybe getting on stage and performing or whatever, that comes a time when that's over. But, it's very important that the public, to me, gets really gritty, down-to-earth performances that from people who have had success, but when it all gets down to it, it's just you and the guitar, you and the piano, or you and the fiddle or something, and it's about the lyrics. And I think it's about, any great producer or director of an orchestra or whatever, they can take a song and make it sound all different kinds of ways. But it's so neat to hear it done in its simplicity.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What an honor.
Thank you.
I was just telling everybody how much I like my seat. It's a good seat. It's kind of a songwriter sandwich. And I like
Sounds
being
like one of his
I like
songs.
being in the middle. Well, I want to sing a song I wrote. I got inspired by my grandmother. She's an Irish lady, and I never did meet her, but there are all these photographs of her around the house when I was a kid with this beautiful, beautiful smile on her face, and I don't know. This is called Mary. Oh, Mary, you're covered in roses, you're covered in ashes, you're covered in rain, you're covered in babies, covered in slashes, you're covered in wilderness, covered in stains. You cast aside the sheets, you cast aside the shroud of another man who serves the world proud, and you greet another son, and you lose another one on some sunny day, and always you stay. Mary. Jesus said, Mother, I couldn't stay another day longer. He flies right by and leaves a kiss upon her face, while the angels were singing his praises in a blaze of glory. Mary stays behind and starts cleaning up the place. Oh, Mary, she moves behind me. She leaves her fingerprints everywhere. Every time the snow drifts, every way the sand shifts, even when the night lifts, she's always there. And Jesus said, Mother, I couldn't stay another day longer. Flies right by and leaves a kiss upon her face, while the angels were singing his praises in a blaze of glory. Mary stays behind and starts cleaning up the place. Oh, Mary, you're covered in roses, you're covered in ruins, you're covered in secrets, you're covered in treetops, covered in birds who can sing a million songs without any words. You cast aside the sheets, you cast aside the shroud of another man who serves the world proud, and you greet another son, and you lose another one on some sunny day, and always you stay. La 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 la.
la 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 la.
Patty Griffin. I have to tell you the truth. I was interviewing Richard Marx last night and Kenny Loggins, and they both turned around and said, "Have you done Patty yet? Have you talked to Patty yet?"
Oh, that's nice.
People light up when they hear you're going to be here or hear your songs.
Aw.
Americana's Artist of the Year, Best Album, Amy Lou Harris and the Dixie Chicks on board with you, and wow.
Yeah.
You've really got quite a ride going there, don't you?
I've been pretty lucky so
No,
far.
but honestly,
yeah.
the people respond, other professionals
Oh,
in your
that's
business in an amazing way. I thought we might start at the beginning, if I may,
Okay.
and ask you a few questions about the songwriting process. And what do you remember when it was the first time that you kind of fell in love with music? You knew it was going to be your career.
Well, I fell in love with music when I was teeny tiny because my mom is still to this day one of my favorite singers I've ever heard. She never sang professionally. She just had 7 children in 7 years' time, and so she was always doing laundry. And so she just sang all the time to keep herself from going crazy, I think. And so she sang all the time, and her voice was strong and beautiful, and she was always singing to just probably make herself feel better. And I got to just hear a beautiful singer all the time. And you know, I was singing with her when I was really little, before I was going to school. You know, so I knew I loved music, and for some reason or other, I was 12 years old. I remember being 12 years old and being in 7th grade hell. I mean, that junior high, just one of the worst ages. And I thought to myself, you know, I love singing just about more than anything, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do that. And I sort of, you know, bought some records that I wanted to learn how to, you know, of different singers. I wanted to learn just how to sing.
Who would they be? Who would they be?
Linda Ronstadt was
Oh, wow.
one of them.
What a great singer.
Aretha Franklin. Actually, my oldest sister handed me a single of Aretha Franklin doing Bridge Over Troubled Water, and she said, you know, if you want to learn to sing, check this out. And I'm still working on that. You know, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, of course, it's Aretha, so it's quite the high bar, but anyway.
Well, sure, but set the bar high.
Yeah, why not?
And as a performer, that's where that came from. Songwriting, how did that evolve? Did that come right along with your love of music, wanting to write songs?
You know, it kind of, I didn't relate the two. I always wrote poetry. I always rhymed things and made up limericks. And you know, when I was a kid, and I was good at rhyming, and I just had an ear for it. And and it really wasn't until my 20s where I thought, you know, I should really take a shot at
put some of that
really
music.
Getting a little pile of songs together.
Well, it's interesting because this show is called Legends and Lyrics, and its theme really is connecting the artist, the song, to poetry. And you emulate that. So it's interesting. You're only the second individual who's come in here, such a talent, that just said, I'm a poet. You know, I mean, there's poetry here.
Thank you.
And I think that's obviously one of the great things about your music and your songs. They're so compelling, and their honesty. What comes first, the chicken or the egg, the melody or the lyric for you?
To me, it's a feeling, you know. It's a really physical experience, both writing and singing. I feel like, you know, I got to do something. And the best songs really kind of take shape all at once. You know, they just, the melody's there, and it sort of vibrates, and then the lyrics show up at the same time.
Okay.
And it's kind of like this little miracle. You don't know how it happens, and it's strange.
It's a gift, isn't it?
I don't know.
Like
I have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so many people love to talk about that and wonder about how that works, and I just don't want to even think about it. I
got
just go,
it, so-
I'm really glad that worked. That was fun. Let's do that again, you know? And so that's, but sometimes, you know, I'll just have I'll have a melody idea floating around and just chip away at it, and those turn out okay too.
Are you the kind of writer that gets up and writes every day, or you write when you're inspired and not at other times?
You know, now I write every day. Just about every day. Not so much when I'm on the road. That's a little harder for me. I need a little steady life going on around me.
Right.
But yeah, I do. In the mornings, I spend a little time writing.
So you're disciplined that way.
It kind of just keeps the cobwebs out. You know.
Oh, you love it too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's not a chore.
No.
I mean, across the board again with these great talents that are here, I keep hearing over and over again the passion that they have for their music, and and it comes in different ways for everybody, but it's passionate to everybody, it seems. Do you like writing, collaborating with other people, or?
You know, I haven't in the past. I think when I started coming into my own voice, you know, I think the songwriter, I think everybody setting out on some creative path sort of emulates so-and-so and emulates so-and-so. And, you know, when I lived in Boston for about 10 years, and I would have like a weekly gig at this little bar, and I would say, I'd like to write 3 more songs, and I'd put on a record, and I'd listen to that person, and I'd go try to write 3 more songs like that person would write. And, you know, somewhere in my late 20s, I just remember something showing up. It was Sweet Lorraine. The bridge to Sweet Lorraine showed up, and it was like, whoa, this is such a strange formula. I don't really know how this is working. And then I sat down. I got the bridge first, and then I finished the song in about, you know, not very much time. And when I started coming into my own as a songwriter, what was the question? I do that. I have not used to being interviewed.
That's
I haven't
okay.
done
I'm
this for a
so
while.
carried away and thinking of that song, I forgot what the question
Oh, good.
was.
Okay,
Too, so,
that was a really good question in there.
You
And
know, I know there was.
I forgot it.
If you could have a dinner party and invite 3 people that you would love to, you know, run around their brain, their creative brain, or listen to their stories with a musical background, who might they be?
With a musical background.
Yeah.
I've met some of those people, but I think somebody I haven't ever gotten to meet, and I think Smokey Robinson is a songwriting genius.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. He's one. I think Al Green would be a lot of fun. And
Smokey Robinson and Al Green, never would have thought that.
That would be fun. And let me see.
Interesting. Give us a third. Your third.
Well, Kris Kristofferson. It's kind of, I have a little dream coming true today.
Is that fun? I
Yeah.
told him, I said, a lot of people that I've interviewed, you were at the table. At their table.
Not bad.
What a
yeah.
legend he is. I mean, it's wonderful. Now, considering the last question, do you ever get writer's block? Not the last question, the one before that we both forgot what it was.
I think it's just that it waxes and wanes. You know how inspired you are to do music. You know, depending on what's going on, there's all kinds of different reasons why you might not feel like it, and you kind of have to live through them
and not panic.
And not panic. You know, at some point it might, you know, the car might just go down that street. You know, what I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll make pots one day and have a little kiln. I don't know. I mean, I just never really take it for granted. I feel like very, very lucky to get to make my living doing this, and it's a blast. And so far, it stayed pretty interesting.
On that note, because of our audience, so many aspiring young writers or old writers, or what kind of information would you like to leave them with as far as pointers? Do you have a tidbit of information you'd like to leave with them? Or advice, I guess is the better word.
I just think that I've always loved to sing, and that's something I've known about myself, and I love to write, and I think that that's really carried me through, because I was a waitress for a really long time, and I knew I loved to sing, and I knew I loved to write, and that was really hard, and I couldn't have worked as hard without having known for certain that I absolutely loved it. I never really expected to have. I kind of hoped I would get to make my living, but I never really expected that. And I think that I do see a lot of people put like the cart before the horse, and they want something before they actually experience the joy of making something. And I think that just make sure you love it, and
that's a great
you're
way to
making
put it.
something that you
love for
that
itself.
you loved making, that you really were into making. Yeah. And if that's there, then you can't go wrong, no matter if you might end up, teaching school or, doing that to support your songwriting and never
But
really
no one can
making a
take it
living.
away.
Right, you always have that. And I think that, as long as you're doing it that way, then you can't go wrong. So.
That's wonderful. Well, I think that that's been very consistent also. People who have made it to the plateau that you have, everyone here in this show, pretty much when asked that question is saying the same thing. Don't lose your integrity, you're unique. Don't let it own you. Don't try and be in a cookie cutter, but do it because you're passionate about it, and it sustains them. But it also obviously brings success. So if there was a key to success, I would say that was it, because it's consistent.
Well, it's in your heart.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
nobody
exactly.
can. They can, your bank account can get empty pretty quick, but yeah.
That's it. Hey,
You
write
can
a
keep
song
working
about
on
that.
that,
Yeah, you can't lose that way. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure to meet you. And if you had anything that you wanted to say about the show, we'd appreciate it. Just being part of this show, or it's meeting with Kris Kristofferson. Yeah.
I'm very excited to meet with Kris Kristofferson. I just got to meet him in the dressing room a minute ago, and I'm having a little trouble fathoming why I'm getting to share a stage with someone with Kris Kristofferson, but I'm not going to question it because I'm very excited about it, and it's just really great that there is some kind of focus on a master like that, and with so much of the glitz and the glam and the packaging and the look and it going on these days, it's really great to be a part of something that that has a great master on stage, that I get to sit next to pretty soon. So.
Well, you know what? You're just delightful, and I find also with the great success of those I've spoken with, there's a humility that you possess, and many others do, that's really unique and lovely, and it comes through your music.
Thanks.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.